Welcome back to the DSR channel, and we are covering the new book that just released, Eberron, Forge of the Artificer. Been waiting for this for months and months and months, so very exciting. And I'm covering the subclass. This is going to be the Armor subclass. And real quick, I'm trying to get to 2,000 subscribers this week, so if you enjoy this content and you're nerdy like I am, maybe help a fellow nerd out and subscribe and like. I would really appreciate it. Okay, Armorer. This one, super cool. I love the fantasy. I've played the Armor. I played the Alchemist as well. I played the Battlesmith. The only one I haven't played is the Artillerist, my personally. So this one's great. Love it. I'm going to focus in on the things that changed because there's actually a lot here. So I'm just going to call that stuff out. All right. Or I'll just kind of breeze over things that haven't changed. So a lot of this didn't change. You still have the training with armor. You still get the proficiency with the smith tools. This is the change that we saw with the alchemist. So that level 10 feature that was removed from the base class is now in the subclass. And like the alchemist, I think this is a net win because you can make rare, very rare, even legendary items, and you can do it in half the time. And downtime is the biggest constraint on crafting. Usually, you get to a point where you have so much money that that's no longer the constraint, and it's the downtime that's the constraint. And yes, I do recommend that DMs you should play with downtime in crafting. It's a lot of fun. People love to play it and lean into that fantasy. But also, if you don't play with it, then the artificers don't get this feature. Like they're not benefiting from this feature either. So even though everybody can craft, they still do it better than anyone else. Let them be better. Okay. All right. Moving on to the spell list, completely unchanged, and it's always been a decent spell list. Um, uh, I wish they had made some improvements here, but it's still decent, and didn't change at all. Now we're getting to the big ticket item, which is the arcane armor. There's a lot here. So the setup, the base framework for the arcane armor, that all works the same, exactly as it did before. Okay, it removes the strength requirement. You can don and doff it as a utilize action instead of like 5 minutes for medium armor and 10 minutes for heavy armor. It's just one action for you, and it can't be removed without against your will. And you can use it as a spellcasting focus. I wish they clarified a little bit that meant it counted as you holding a spellcasting focus. So you didn't need another hand free because you're wearing the armor and already touching it. That's how I rule it. Frankly, I would suggest every DM rule it that way. That's my advice. DMs rule it that way just so that this is a benefit. Because if you still say they have to have a hand free, then this is no benefit, right? And it's not like it's a big benefit. Okay, armor models. So first up, they added one, which is the Dreadnought. We saw that in the Unearthed Arcana, and I believe they've even enhanced it since the Unearthed Arcana, which is great, okay, because it needed it. So Force Demolisher. Um, an arcane wrecking ball or sledgehammer projects from your armor. The demolisher counts as a simple weapon with reach, the reach property, and it deals 1d10 force damage on a hit, which is a better damage type than both thunder and lightning. Not that thunder and lightning have very many problems, but it's nice to have more options. It has reach, which is good. If you hit a creature with it that is at least one size smaller than you, it has to be smaller than you, not equal. You can push them 10 feet straight away or pull them toward you 10 feet. Okay. But don't worry, that size limitation is not a big problem because you got giant stature. As a bonus action, you can transform and enlarge your armor for 1 minute. For the duration, your reach increases by another 5 feet. So now we're looking at 15 feet reach, which means you can now pull them the full 10 feet towards you. Okay, very cool. You become large if you're smaller than large, as long as there's room for that. Anything you're wearing increases with you, and you can use this bonus action a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier. You get those back on a long rest. So that's probably okay, right? On average, 3 combats is kind of average for the day. If you're in a dungeon crawl, it could be more, and being able to do this more when you're in a dungeon crawl, when you have higher, you're at higher levels, is going to be great. So that's probably the right amount, and it lasts a whole minute. So you only need it once per combat. No concentration, which is great, and yeah, you could put enlarge. You could get enlarge reduces on your spell list. You could put enlarge on yourself and make yourself huge, which would be cool. Okay, so then that means you're large and you can now push and pull medium-sized creatures. So it kind of solves that first problem we saw with the Force Demolisher. All right, moving on to Guardian. This is our so I would real quick. I would characterize is the better word. I would characterize the Dreadnought as the damage dealing / control option, right? This is kind of like what other martials get, where they do a little bit more damage and they have these weapon masteries that have these control features. So you basically have the push weapon mastery, but you also have pull, which there is no mastery for that. Kind of cool, and if you're trying to be the interesting there is pulling is more of a tank function, right? You're trying to keep people close to you, so you want to pull them. And so, frankly, I think that should be on the Guardian armor, not the Dreadnought armor. I don't know. Maybe you'll just tank with Dreadnought, which is probably the way to go a lot of the time. Guardian armor. This is the more tanky version, or more tanky armor model. The Thunder Gauntlets work exactly the same as they did before, and this one causes that soft taunt feature, which is why it's kind of the default tank option. The only thing they changed is the defensive field. So it used to have charges equal to your proficiency bonus. They took that away. Now it has no charges at all. You can just do it all the time, but you can only start doing it once you're bloodied. So while you're bloodied, you can do this as a bonus action every round. And it's temporary hit points equal to your Artificer level. So that's interesting because, like at level 20, if you're bloodied, you could get, first of all, there's all those feats now from Heroes of Faerun book that kind of interact with a bloodied condition. So you could get a bunch of those, have them, just let yourself get bloodied. Now all of those features trigger, and you just tell the healers, don't heal me past half hit points. I want to stay bloodied. And then you just use temporary hit points, like 20 temporary hit points every single round, just until the end of time, just to keep yourself alive. If you drop too low, yeah, heal me back up to like half, but not more than half. And then you have all these extra features just on all the time from being bloodied, and you're supplementing that with just 20 renewable temporary hit points every turn, every round, with no resource consumption. So I think that's a net win. That's pretty cool. All right, and the third armor model is the Infiltrator, which is completely identical to the old version. And this version is this armor model is your range damage dealer. It's not a very strong damage dealer, but it is a range damage dealer, and like your Infiltrator. So if you put this on like a breastplate, you now have permanent advantage on dexterity stealth checks as long as it's a breastplate. If you switch it to being on half plate, now it just cancels out the half plate. But if you make your half plate or plate armor mithril, you now have, which removes the disadvantage from stealth, you now have permanent advantage on stealth checks while wearing mithril plate. You're the sneakiest plate armor wearer ever. Pretty cool. All right, moving on to level 5, we get extra attack. Exactly the same as before. Well, let's make sure you can see that. And just as before, I think that this is not enough. Okay, so clearly you're starting to be. This is a martial subclass, and so you should compare it to the Ranger and Paladin, whose base class is giving them extra attack, fighting styles, weapon masteries, and spells that enhance their martial capabilities. Right? Paladin has Shield of Faith, Divine Favor, Divine Smite, Fine Steed, and they get free castings of Divine Smite and Fine Steed. This is just their base class, right? So they're getting another early tier 2 feature on top of all of that, right? Ranger, they're getting fighting style, weapon mastery. Then they have their spells, right? And they get their extra attack for free, base class, right? Then they have favored enemy, which gives them Hunter's Mark free castings, okay? And that's just the base class. So they're getting another feature on top of that in the early tier 2, and all you're getting is extra attack. This is far too little. Like they should have just thrown out, yeah, you get a fighting style and a weapon mastery and 2 weapon masteries right at this level, and that still wouldn't have been overpowered, right? Again, it would have been good. I don't even think that would have been great. They should have given them like Ensnaring Strike. I think, yeah, give them Ensnaring Strike and like Searing Smite, and I don't know. Then this would have been on par with being a Ranger or Paladin, in my opinion. So you're still subpar compared to Rangers and Paladins. They just because the base class is giving you so much more as a Ranger and Paladin, right? And your base class doesn't give you any of that, and your subclass is not giving you enough. It's just, and you're not a full caster, so you can't say like, well, that's all the Blade Singer and the Valor Bard get. Well, they're full casters. They shouldn't be getting more. Their early tier 2 feature of just getting extra attack is just fine. This is a half caster. They needed way more. They were on the cusp of greatness and they blew it. All right, I gotta stop. I'm just gonna start molting because I'm so ticked off. All right, level 9. So they used to get armor modifications, which was like the best feature that this whole subclass got, which was 2 extra infusions that you could create. So you could create 2 more infusions than other artificers, and you could turn your armor into 4 different pieces that each could have an infusion, and the 2 extra infusions had to go on your armor. So you just got 2 more magic items, and it didn't count as additional attunement slots either, right? So it was just your armor, one attunement slot, and a bunch of infusions on it. So this was the best feature they got. Now you get armor replication. So you learn an additional plan for replicate magic item feature, and it must be an armor category, a new option. If you replicate the plan, you must replace it with another replace the plan. You must replace it with another armor plan. Fine. In addition, you can create an additional item with that feature, and the item must also be in the armor category. So basically, you just create one additional magic item, and it's armor. And you know one more plan, and it's armor. So you don't get the net power increase of my armor now counts as 4 magic items, and I get additional magic features on it. And you had 2 additional features you could put on it before, or sorry, it was a total of 4 features, and you had 2 additional plans to add to it. Now it's just 1 additional armor, and it's not like that armor is anything more than anyone else could have created, right? You can't, like, armor plans are so limited now for the Artificer, right? There just aren't very many armor plans. You're talking like anything from the common armor list and then a few other specific select items. Disappointing. Okay, but improved arsenal. You gain a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with the special weapons of your arcane armor. That was very needed. So I'm glad to see it. It should have been +1 at level 5, +2 at level 9. That's what it should have been. And then +3 at level 15. That's what they should have done. So this is, again, so don't get me wrong, probably a net improvement. At level 9, it's probably a net improvement. Overall, this is probably a net improvement. And again, same thing as the Alchemist, same theme as the Alchemist, which is, yes, it's overall improved. Not enough, guys. Not enough. And the problem is that if you try to play the Artificer armor as anything but a tank, then you're just disappointing because your damage never scales up enough to keep up with anyone else. Because you can't enchant those Thunder Gauntlets. I mean, you used to be able to put infusions on them. Now you can't, right? Because you can't put infusions on things anymore. Now you just make other magic items. So you can't make Thunder Gauntlets. It's not a plan anymore. So now you can't even enchant can't infuse your Thunder Gauntlets to make them better, which you could have done in 2014. So this might be a net decrease for the armorer. Yeah, guys, this is not enough. I don't know. Level 15 perfected armor. Uh, this was always like not enough before, and I would still say it's not enough, although better. Okay, common theme here we're seeing. All right, so first up, Dreadnought in the new version. So the Dreadnought damage die increases to 2d6 from 1d10, so that's a net win. Your average damage goes from 5.5 to 7 for the base weapon. Nice. My opinion, too late. Also, when you use your giant stature, your reach increases by 10 instead of 5, so now you're talking a total reach of 20, and you can increase your size from to large or huge, your choice, and you have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws for the duration. So that's a decent number of benefits. The damage increase should have been at level 9, and like I said, the improved arsenal, that should have been level 5. All right, Guardian. This one is virtually unchanged, except that your damage die, your thunder damage die increases to 1d10, so we're talking a net increase of, on average, 1 damage. Too little, too late, guys. Too little, too late. Not enough. All right. In addition, you still have the same features you had before, which is when a creature ends its turn within 30 feet of you, you can use a reaction to pull it towards you 25 feet. And you can make a melee attack against it as part of that reaction, which was cool. That was always decent. The only thing that changed for this feature is that it's limited by the number of uses is your intelligence modifier instead of proficiency bonus, which is what it was before, which makes sense. It seems like they're just getting rid of proficiency bonus from all class stuff now, which is fine. I mean, frankly, nobody's doing a 15 level Artificer dip to get this one feature. And then they're like, haha, now I'm going to switch to another class and still get another use at level 17. That I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. All right. The Infiltrator. The Infiltrator got a number of upgrades around. This one is changed a lot compared to the Guardian. So your damage die increases to straight up 2d6 all the time instead of this weird thing they had where it was still the 1d6 base damage, but once per turn. But once you hit them, the next attack would do an additional 1d6. So it's kind of this like stacking, not stacking. The first attack would do 1d6, the second attack would do 2d6, and you only had 2 attacks. So this is a net damage increase. Again, too little, too late. Your allies are going to be doing way more damage than this, okay? So that's a bummer. And now they start to glow until the start of your next turn, and and it's the whole round. And the glow effect is different now. The glow effect used to give the next attack from anyone against that target advantage. It doesn't do that at all anymore. Now what it does, it gives that target, the creature you hit this with, they have disadvantage against you on all their attack rolls against you. I guess that's nice because that is part of the ranged attacker's job, is to do as much range damage as they can and take as little damage as possible. So if they try to target you, you've got they've got permanent disadvantage against you, and you don't have to hit the same target. So you could be hit multiple targets, and then both of them have disadvantage against you, but you're splitting your already weak damage and making them harder to hit you. But they're probably not going to hit you anyway because your damage is so low. The rest of your party is doing like 2 or 3 times as much damage at least compared to you, so they're not focusing on you anyway. Like this, the monsters are going to be laughing at you and be like, "Okay, I will ignore you." Uh, so that's unfortunate. At this level, that should be like 3d6, or give them weapon masteries and a fighting style, or I mean, frankly, they need multiple enhancements, and this just isn't enough. All right, but they added a bonus action to give yourself fly speed. Now, in the UA we last saw, the Dreadnought got a permanent fly speed while you were in Dreadnought form, or while you, I think, used your giant stature, which never made sense to me. I mean, it's cool that one of these forms flies, but it shouldn't be the Dreadnought. Okay, it should have been the Infiltrator. So I'm glad they moved it to the Infiltrator, because this is the one that's your mobility, your scout. They do infiltration, which is a subset of the scout role, and Infiltrator is in the name here, guys. So yes, this one should have got the fly speed. It's equal to twice your walking speed, which is great, but it only lasts till the end of your current turn, not even the whole round, your current turn, which means at the end of your turn, you need to land or you fall. And you can take this bonus action a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier. You regain all expended use and you finish a long rest. So again, on the cusp of greatness, and missed it. It should have at least been 1 minute. Like, we've seen this kind of a feature. We saw it on the Ascendant Dragon for the subclass for the monk. And yeah, it was super disappointing. And I don't even know if I saw anybody use it on that subclass. I only saw that subclass used like once, maybe twice, and then people realized this is bad and then stopped trying to play it. And this is super disappointing, guys. Not even a whole round of fly speed. It's literally 1 turn. Okay. Overall, I think they improved it because they improved it, this subclass, but it's not. I would say it got less improvement than the Alchemist, and the Alchemist needed the improvement more, I guess. So this one's, but just not a lot. Like, the only thing they're really good at is tanking, right? The Guardian is a good tank. The Dreadnought is going to be an okay, controller as far as martial controllers go. And I give marshals a C for being a controller with those weapon masteries, right? You're just going to be pushing and pulling, which is a, 1 or 2 targets, which is a C level control effect, right? If it was like an AoE of push and pull, then it's different, right? But it's not an AoE. It's 1 target that you hit. And you don't even have like the benefit of like Eldritch Blast with Warlocks and Repelling Blast, right? Because at level 17, they can hit 4 targets and push pull. I mean, they can push 4 targets or pull 1 with Grasp of Adar. So you don't even get 4 attacks to do this. You're still stuck with the 2 attacks of your measly extra attack that you got at level 5, which wasn't enough then and still isn't enough. Yeah. So I'm frustrated. This needed a lot more. They needed, like, the Infiltrator should be a solid range damage dealer. And this is not. I don't even know if I'd give this a B as a range damage dealer. That's kind of generous, right? Because you can't put any enhancements on your lightning launcher, right? You can't create magic items that are the lightning launcher. So that's frustrating. Yeah, you will always be subpar, but you might be a C class range damage dealer. I don't know. And the Dreadnought, I don't know if that's supposed to be like a good melee damage option, but it's just not, right? You're talking about a very disappointing amount of damage on a measly 2 attacks. You can't even you don't get weapon masteries, and even if you took the weapon master feat, you can't add that to this, right? You can't get Nick, you can't get Vex on any of these. I mean, they even added Vex to the Soul Knife subclass, right? Their Psychic Blade now has Vex, right? They didn't give you any weapon masteries. They should have added weapon masteries to each of these items on top of all the benefits it has. Yes, I know that the push effect of the Dreadnought's Force Demolisher is like the push mastery. They should have given it an additional weapon mastery of Topple or something else, or Sap. Guardian should have gotten Sap. I don't know. They needed more. And here's a big glaring final thing I'm going to say about this that they needed, which is they should have, and this is a huge missed opportunity, they should have added to the base arcane armor a feature that said, as a bonus action, you can expend a spell slot and change the armor model. So that in the middle of combat, if the situation changed, you could, and you were like a ranged damage dealer, you're in infiltrator mode and you're trying to do some range damage, and then the tank goes down for some reason, you could have switched and become the tank. That would have made this all way more valuable because you have this level of versatility that no one else has. But they didn't do that. Ugh, which is a bummer. I suggested it in the UA and they didn't do it. Anyway, okay. So overall, better, but only by a small margin. I'm still disappointed, but maybe we, play test it. Let me know if it's better. Thanks for watching. Remember to be cool with your friends when you play D&D, and I'll catch you next time.